Welcome to the Burning Hearts Society, a space where prophetic process and real-time revelation is shared through honest and authentic conversation in the company of friends. Join us as we journey deeper into the heart of God together.
The other thing the Lord was talking to me about for this year was he said tidal pools to tidal wave. And which in my research, I realized that most people see a tidal wave and they think that a tidal wave is a tsunami and they're actually different. But there was a juxtaposition of that because I think he was using it in the way I understood it. But both are, the important part is that they're both affected by gravity. It's like that the thing that is drawing us to a certain weight. There's a weight that is drawing us in to a purpose. And as I was looking at that and kind of researching around what does it mean? Like what's a tidal pool? What's a tidal wave? A tidal pool is a small, shallow pool of salt water. It's stagnant. It's like if there's a deposit has been made in these tidal pools and there's life in them and they have a purpose and they sustain life, but they are limited in their scope.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're, building upon what God has asked us to build in our, respective regions and spheres of influence with Him, those pools begin to expand into an actual, a whole wave of movement of gravity. And actually, there's something that I looked up that means it's called a tidal bore. I never heard of it before. And it's where um, gravity pulls a wave into a river and actually changes the direction of the flow.
Whoa.
It's so good, right? Like literally changes the current because of the force of gravity pulling this body of water into where there's been a just an ease of flow in a different direction. And if
Wow.
that isn't what we've been talking about, but the other really cool thing was I looked up Tidal or title in Hebrew, and Tidal is a Hebrew word. And there's not a lot of information around that word in specific, but basically, scholars' best estimation of this word is that it means high praise, splendor, renown, veneration, awe, and fear. So the tidal pools, those small areas, those like little sparks of
Mhm.
fires that have been developing all over the earth, the houses, the hubs, the movement of the kingdom on the earth, those little sparks are going to become an entire system that changes the currency and the
Mm.
current of the current flow into one of splendor, where the splendor, the renown, the veneration, and the awe and the fear of the Lord becomes the thing
Wow.
that is pulling us forward.
Wow.
Wow,
This is such a powerful visual.
that's really interesting because last year I had a dream where I was swimming with Jesus through some tidal pools.
Mm.
And then, literally, as we've started this year, I kept having visions of tidal waves. And then I had a dream yesterday morning that I was crossing a bridge with my kids, connecting two islands. So there's like a harbor to our left, the ocean to our right. And there are literally huge tidal waves that are coming up and eclipsing and coming over the bridge, like literally, because you had to cross the bridge. So there was the fear that tried to come in, like it's going to sweep us away, right? It was mainly that I felt that in my kids. And like I could feel this thing of like, nope, like the Lord's ordained, this is a passage that we have to take. Um, and then so then we make it to the other side. So there's this picture transition, which again, these waves going over it. But then there was a word that the Lord gave me. I think it was like a year and a half ago, and I released it. And it's um the Lord had me title it Lean into the Wave.
Mhm.
And in the dream, I came to a bridge, and instead of the water being down under the bridge actually had a huge tidal wave coming toward you. And you had to No cars were allowed to pass. In other words, you didn't get across by being in the company of other people. Like it was a picture.
Mhm.
Look, I know God around that time was speaking to us a ton about the baptism of death and
Mhm.
about all of that. And so there was this thing of like you have to get out of your car and individuals, and you had to you had to literally go through it, um and to come through to the other side. And but it was interesting because it was something where there was we're talking about the structures and some of the things that which the things that God is dreaming over start to take expression. But you could see in the dream that everybody who crossed, there was a rearranging here,
Mhm.
right? So it's just interesting how the Lord's highlighted that. Now I'm going to have to go back and nerd out on
Tidal waves.
some of the
Cool.
other things that,
Yeah.
yeah, that the Lord's shown, because it basically started to connect these different themes that I've seen over time, which is part of the power of stewarding, right? Our dreams and the things God's showing us over time is that you start to see unfoldings of kind of the bigger narrative of
Mhm.
God that's being seen through it. So it's really cool.
When you're sharing that, I'm thinking about a dream. One of those, if you dream at all, you know that you have those certain dreams that are kind of like mile markers in your
Yep.
life. You just like destiny dreams where you're like, you just keep coming back to it. And I had this one in college, so a long time ago. Um, but I was going down a river in a canoe by myself, and it opened up into the ocean, and there were all these huge cruise ships in this, like just kind of parked in this huge open water. And I remember seeing a tidal wave coming from afar. And in the dream, I was like, well, I'm in a canoe. Like, I can't go out there. I'm in a canoe. And audibly in the dream, the Lord said, you can either be afraid or you can truly live. And in the
Mm,
dream, I began to paddle into this tidal wave. And as I did, and I hit the wave, I woke up. And I think when you're talking about the Lord is just taking me back to where he's been leading me, and I think he's been leading so much of the body of where fear has
Mhm.
capped us and kept us from living relentless and
Mhm.
living open. And I know for me, you guys know a lot of my story, and many people know a lot of my story where fear has always been something. It was even packaged as wisdom for so much of my life. And I've been in such a process, and the Lord has progressively delivered me from these different layers of fear, sometimes in dreams, sometimes, there were dreams where I was literally battling a demon of fear, and the Lord gave me the strategy in the dream and it left. And or other times where I've actually gone through actual deliverance for fear, and just different progressions of ridding me from this um, faulty wiring almost
mhm.
that the enemy would seek to control us with, that we
Yeah.
would be willing to cross that bridge into this new way of doing things in this new like, but I don't want to let go of that tool, because what if I'm nothing without it? What if I expose my weakness and everybody rejects me? And literally last night, I woke up in the middle of the night with the word amygdala in my brain. Like in the middle of the night, it was just bing, and I woke up amygdala. It's like, okay, amygdala. Went back to sleep. And this morning, I was in the couple minutes of free time I've had so far today, I was looking up, obviously it's that fear response, and something that popped up when I was searching, it was talking about the amygdala hijack. And the amygdala hijack happens when your amygdala responds to stress and disables your frontal lobe.
Mhm.
Basically, it happens so fast based on previous experience that you react before you can even think. Like your
Oh my,
body reacts.
you literally last night I had one of those encounters last night in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
So
me
when
too.
the Lord so when the Lord showed you amygdala, and I got to bed late last night because I was babysitting my niece, blah blah blah, doesn't matter. So I was like, I need to get sleep tonight because I got a 5 a.m. wake up call. I'm in a dead sleep. And all of a sudden, I am awakened by my body going into a stress response that felt very similar to an encounter that we all shared together back in May of last year, which they
So
both will know, but we're not going to go into it right now.
fun.
And my body woke me up because I
Mhm.
was having this traumatic stress response and I had no idea what was going on. I wasn't dreaming and I was sweating all over my body and I immediately get up and this thought comes to me that, oh my gosh, I forgot to pick my husband up from the airport, which he wasn't supposed to get in until this morning. But in the middle of the night, this random thought that made no sense at all because he texted me that night before and said, "Hey, I get in at 9:30 a.m." My brain told me he got in at 9:30 p.m. and is still waiting at the airport for you at 1:30 in the morning and because you forgot to pick him up. And so I literally jolt out of bed. I'm like running to my phone, terrified that he's just stranded at the airport because he can't Uber or something. Like it literally removed my ability to that stress response removed my ability to like logically think
Mhm.
and even just like because I was tired too. But I actually like had that happen in real time last night.
I did too, and that's why I heard that word is because I woke up and I was like, I was literally feeling terror, and I'm like,
Yeah, me too.
I'm
Wow.
not like I'm like there's no reason, but my body was responding like that, and then I heard amygdala, and so as I was researching it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this, there's such a parallel here that the Lord wants to deal with these triggers and trauma responses to
Yep.
where there's things that have derailed us in the past or have wounded us in the past or caused us to back down
Traumatized us.
or defeated us in the past, like the battles we've lost, the casualties we've suffered, like all the rejection, the abandonment, the betrayal, you name it. The enemy will is an opportunist and a legalist, and he'll take whatever we give him. I don't remember who I was listening to, but I was listening to a sermon, and he said he was talking about worship, but I think it applies here too. He said Jesus is picky. Satan will take anything.
Mm.
I was like, oh, that's so good. Like there is
Hmm.
there is a specificity of the kind of worship Jesus takes, but the enemy will take any hook we give him. Any ground we'll give him, he'll take. And as I was studying this out, I'm like, man, there's such a parallel. And actually I'm being reminded of a dream that I had a couple weeks ago. Um
Dream stream.
what?
We're in a
Dream
dream
stream.
stream.
Dream stream. But there's gotta be a hand signal for that or something. But I was asking the Lord, God, is there any other ground in me for fear? Because there've been occasions in the recent past where it's like, okay, is it hormones? Is it, you go through all the things. Is it natural? Is it spiritual? Is it physical? Is it situational? Like what's going on, And where I had been waking up feeling that like fear response, but I'm like, but it's not attached to anything. Like I'm not
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm afraid of that thing or anxious about this other thing. And so I was asking the Lord about it, and I had this dream. And in the dream, I'm actually at Joshua Todd's house in the sunroom, which he doesn't have an actual sunroom in his actual house, just, dreamland. And in the dream, I'm in this sunroom with Kayla, and my friend Carrie Skiles appears in the dream, and she is an inner healing minister. And she says, I figured out what's been going on with you. And I was like, okay, please tell me. And
Hearing
she
this for the first time.
like, this sounds like information I need. And she says, I don't understand this, and I've never seen it with anybody else. But somehow the realm of imagination has become a spiritual realm in you. And I
Oh.
I sat with that even in the dream for a minute, and I just kind of let it sink in. And then I began to go through a hallway where someone was praying me through this hallway to come to the other side of this narrow, it was such a narrow hallway into this cobblestone room, this ancient room. It looked like ancient. And since then, I've been asking the Lord about that. And I'm like, Lord, like, what does that mean? And he began to show me I had been fighting the battle too late. That because we're prophetic and because we see in the spirit, sometimes when we see, especially like we're talking about demonic things or, we're watchmen, we're like seeing the things. And sometimes even focusing on that thing
Yeah.
lets it through the gate enough to where then we have to fight a battle we
Yeah.
were never even supposed to engage in.
Come on.
Mm.
Come on. That's good.
In that place of imagine, and let me tell you, when I decided I'm not even taking this as spiritual insight when these things try to come to my gate.
Yep.
Like I'm not even opening the gate to even to my even a hint of my imagination, because now the Lord has revealed to me this has become like it's so powerful in the way that he wired me that it's become
Hmm.
a spiritual realm.
Hmm.
And so as I began to partner with that, let me tell you, the battle for about 2 weeks, every single night as I lay down to sleep, I began to see all sorts of like insane things. And I would see them right at the gate. And I'd be like, no, I'm not giving any room for you. And it would come like relentless for like an hour before I fell asleep. I was like, nope, nope, nope. Because it was used to getting in, and then I would have to face it when it was here.
Yeah.
Instead of, no, I'm not even giving like opportunity for you to come in the door.
Right.
And I think that's such a important key for the body. So many times, as prophetic people, we're walking through what he's wants us to demonstrate to the body. And I'm recognizing as you're talking, Hannah, I'm like, oh, like this, obviously it's not just for me, but whoa, it's really not just for me. There is revelation
Yes.
of stewarding victory and of stewarding these spaces to where we can actually drive the canoe into the wave
Hmm.
and know that it was never about the canoe or the cruise ship. It was
Right.
about obedience.
Yeah, and I'm gonna riff off of a really awesome point that my pastor made on Sunday, but I'm gonna change it a little bit. He talks about the difference. He actually talked about the difference between imagination and revelation, and just 2 days ago.
Wow.
And I just hear the Lord saying, spiritual intelligence does not come through your imagination. It
Mm.
comes through revelation
Come
that
on.
I give you.
Wow.
So there is intelligence that we can obtain through imagination, like you're saying, through the realm of imagination.
Mm.
Because the our imaginations are basically just the realm of our minds, right? And our souls.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the contents that that makes up and what we fill it with and what we create internally in our minds and our hearts. So you can get intelligence there, but the purest form of intelligence that the Lord desires us to wield and walk in comes through revelation
Yeah.
and impartation from that revelation. That's a really wild and impactful uh encounter, Natalie, and just like realization.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's been the next layer of deliverance for me in this.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, it's
and
like mind renewal too.
yeah, it is. And it's like it's so simple, and yet, I think there's certain ways that we're trained even to war. And I know we talked about this a little bit last time, that the body's been conditioned to that the amygdala, the
Hmm.
amygdala hijack, basically, even in intercession, even in where we get intel from.
Yeah.
And and I think, something that's become such um an important place of discernment in that is that so many times we kind of try to disconnect our emotions from
Hmm.
revelation, from intel, where actually it's a huge key.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
for so long, feelers have felt like we have to kind of gaslight ourselves into
Yeah.
like, oh, well, this feels really weird, but everybody seems like they're okay with it. And the Lord's like, hey, no, like I built you this way, like listen to that. And we can the language that I've finally come around, the Lord finally gave me around feelers and how to decipher and to discern, is it imagination or is it revelation? I love that language, Blake, is that, the signal is always true. Basically, if you're
Right.
receiving a signal,
You're picking up on something.
you are receiving a signal,
Yeah.
period.
Period. Yeah.
And then once we can step out of gaslighting ourselves of like, I'm sensing something I'm not, then we can go through the secondary layer of processing, which is, what am I passing this through
Yes.
to get to the final destination? Am I passing it through my wounds? Am I passing it through anxiety? Am I
Hmm.
passing it through, places, the demonic? Like, am I passing
Yeah.
it through, or am I self-aware enough to know where are my lenses still maybe being healed so that we come to that place of revelation instead of just imagination, because
Hmm.
it's so important to get pure. We don't want to be feasting at the table of fear and
No.
anxiety, and then taking it to our prayer groups like, we have to pray for this thing that's coming because I saw this thing. And like, yeah, maybe, but also, like, are you being led into and by fear and anxiety, or
Yep.
are you being led from and to peace and the dominion of the King who has already declared it is finished?
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. Well, it reminds me of Proverbs 4:23 about watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flows the streams of life. And I had just written down earlier, I wrote, pure discernment flows from the inside out through the inworking of the Holy Spirit. And so we can be selective about what we watch for, like what you were talking about with the imagination. Sometimes it's because of the culture that we've been shaped by. Sometimes it's like just having blind spots, even in doctrine. Like, I think this is going to be a big year of people really searching things out in the scriptures in ways that they haven't before, and getting shored up in certain
Yes.
areas of like very foundational theological understanding, that couples with encounter, right? They go together. It's actually encountering Jesus. But I have many conversations with people who are, being developed in prophetically and stuff. And I was talking to someone a while back, and, they were seeing a lot. I'll just say that way. They were seeing a lot. And but you could hear the fear, and you could hear the franticness and stuff like that. And I mean, this is why we need relationships, right? Like, I mean, we do this with
Yes.
each other all the time. And um I told her, I was like, you know what? Your homework assignment is to go behold Jesus. Just set these things down for a minute. It's good you want to steward those. It's good you want to intercede, but just go behold Jesus for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I find that in my own journey with discernment, which can be ranging everything from what's going on in my heart, my family, right? And then it just ripples out there. Things playing out on the world stage, whatever. It's always flowing from
Yep.
the revelation of Christ.
Yep.
It is always flowing from the Holy Spirit, from the place of union and communion. Like, and it's actually really great news, because if you receive, you think, oh, this is intel, but your heart is also, you feel that amygdala response, for example, that there's zero condemnation. Like, anybody who's actually walking through that should never feel like guilty. I mean, we're just at where we at in our process, but it is an invitation to come closer.
Yes.
And so how we see and perceive when his heartbeat is right up against our ear is very different than when we're just kind of being affected by the swimminess of atmospheres. And so it's good. It's a starting place. Like, take what you have, but like, come into the beholding, come into the chamber of his heart, right? Like we talked about in our previous conversation. And from there, all of a sudden, you'll find that it may not even be that the quote information is all different, but it looks entirely different from where you're actually called to sit.
And feels.
Yes, entirely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was um led to the passage in Second Kings where Elijah is taken up to heaven and Elisha doesn't want him to go. Um, Primarily, I mean, I'm gonna ideate here a little bit, but Elisha probably didn't want Elijah to go for many reasons. Um, He would feel abandoned. He probably didn't feel like he was ready to. He probably knew that if Elijah left, he would be left. He would be the one picking up the pieces and carrying the responsibility that was left behind, and maybe didn't feel equipped or qualified for that.
Mm.
Um, but for those who are familiar with the passage, Elijah says, if you see me, if you keep your eyes fixed on me in the transition, then it will go well for you and you'll be okay. And then we all know that before his eyes, chariots of fire and horses and angels and a whirlwind surrounded Elijah and separated them. But Elisha, in that moment, literally had to pivot because he saw all of those things.
Mm.
It's not that he was like, "Oh Lord, just keep me blind to all the things so I can keep my eyes fixed on." No, like when your spiritual eyes are opened, they're open. You see everything. So Elisha saw the whirlwind, he saw the flames of fire, and he saw the angelic, and the spiritual realm was open to him, but he chose to let those things fade and keep his eyes fixed on his
Mm.
master. And then he received the double portion. And I think that's a word. I think that's a word over the season that we're entering right now, that for those who
I
keep their
agree.
eyes fixed on the master, because
Hmm.
the spiritual realm is open. Like the majority are now entering into encounters in the spiritual realm. It's not reserved for a select few anymore. Like the veil is thin, the veil is being removed. The masses are coming into an understanding of what's right in front of us, the invisible world that's all around us, and there's noise being added now because of that, because everybody's got an opinion, everybody's got an encounter, everybody had a dream, this is happening, that's happening.
Hmm.
Hey, we could listen to all these opinions, we can get sucked into our own encounters and distractions and imaginations of what something leads us to. But for those who are determined to keep their eyes fixed on the master, those are the ones who are going to be entrusted with a double portion of the mantle that they're called to walk in. And they're going to be entrusted with the secrets of his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that was one of the things the Lord was talking to me about with this year is that there's new mantles and new mandates um available, and I think it's to those that will wait on him and keep their eyes on,
Hmm.
it was all tied to that, the optimize, like the keeping our
Mhm.
eyes fixed on him. That's where we have to watch for that, the parousia, the coming of the Lord, the ever-present presence of the
Yeah.
Lord coming down to clothe us. Um, from the whirlwind, from that place of transition. It comes from that place. And, I know I reached out to you guys I think it was last Friday. I had come home, I was really tired. We had done that deliverance training the night before, and I got like 5 hours of sleep. And I was like, I'm gonna take a nap while the kids are asleep or at school. And so I came home and I'm walking to the bedroom to go lay down. And I just hear the Lord say, the winds of change are coming. And as I'm sleeping, literally I had not looked at the weather at all. A huge windstorm swept through and even knocked out our power from it. It woke me up because the power went out, and stuff beeps and stuff when it comes back on. And so I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, the power got knocked out, and it was literally rattling the house.
Mm.
It was literally testing the strength of the siding and the branches on the trees. And there were things in our neighborhood that have been here for 10 years and withstood every storm. And I drove by and it cracked in half and fell. And
Mm.
we have to understand that in that storm and as we keep our eyes on him in that transition place, comes the new house, comes the place of the new office, the place of governance, the resourcing of the Lord, and the different places that, I'd love to talk about that a little bit too, is because I know that's something that we're all seeing for this coming year too. But all of that is available if we don't run from the storm, if we recognize the winds are coming. And even way back when we were talking about the winds and the two, your dream about Dorothy and and twisters. I'm like, man, what do you do in a tornado? You get low. You
Yeah.
go to the lowest point that you can possibly get. If you're outside unsheltered, you get in a ditch. If you're inside, you go to the basement into the most interior, hidden, protected place in the safety of the shadow of his wing. Like that,
Yes.
you get low under him. And in order to rightly position ourselves to receive those new mandates and those mantles, we have to face the wind and say, we see you coming and we receive you, and get low so that we're in the position to receive the place he actually wants us to stand us up in. And I think that can sometimes even be more uncomfortable. Right after that, I had that crazy dream that I sent you guys, and in that dream, it was about that new house, and it needed a lot of work, but it was our house, and there was like such beauty, and just the promises of the Lord were within it. And in that, all through the dream, even though I knew it was our house, I kept thinking, are we sure this is our house? Wait, whose house is this? Is this our house? And so we really have to, we have to lean into who he is and what he says about us, and who he's positioning and what he's positioning in us and through us in order to make this transition well.
Thank you for being part of this conversation with the Burning Heart Society. Follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to stay connected to future episodes. Until next time, keep burning.